For the records of vanity, it asks about the possible. Total, there's no way they would do that. And what other? Okay. Ms. Feely, we can't start quite yet because we need another deputy in here, but your plan is to go forward with the motion today. And we'll talk a little bit about logistics based on some of the email traffic, but I'm asking because we've got pretrial services on our call and I can release them if we're going forward with the motion as opposed to, hey, we've worked the case out.
We're going forward.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, happy Monday morning. Thank you for joining us. We're having an immunity motion today. So no pleas, and you are free to go support other folks who need pretrial services help. Ms. Rivers, are you able to hear us?
Good morning, Judge. Yes, I am.
Great. Well, we're going to get going in a little bit. We're waiting on another deputy. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, how are you? All right. You ready for Mr. Hall? Before you bring him out. So I don't know if folks are here who were here last time. This is a public courtroom. You're welcome to be here. Whatever happened last time cannot happen again. I chatted with Deputy Gordon, my primary deputy, and he has let his colleagues know any chatter, murmuring, anything like that that is perceived as being directed at Mr. Hall, you're gone. This is being live streamed on YouTube, so people can watch it remotely. If you all can be here and be calm while you're here, you're welcome to stay. This is your courtroom as much as it is mine, but we cannot have a situation like last time. I'm not taking sides. I don't know who started it. That's not the point. But there was an outburst that got rough, and that can't happen in a courtroom either. This needs to be a safe space for everyone. Folks associated with, and I don't mean to mispronounce his name, Mr. Blount or Mr. Blunt, they got to be here and they can be here. Folks associated with Mr. Hall, to include Mr. Hall and his lawyers. This is a safe zone. So if you're feeling like emotions are running high, step outside and come back in when you're ready to be able to sit quietly. But if there are any issues or people are holding up cell phones to film, you're gone. It's that simple, because we just need to keep this place safe and quiet. It's not anything personal. And I know that understandably, folks are upset about what happened. Someone's dead. It doesn't get more serious than that. But when we're in court, everyone needs to just watch and listen. If there's something that you need to say, there will be a time to say it as we work through this process. Okay. With that, let's bring Mr. Hall out. Ms. Feely, are you ready to go forward?
We are.
All right, let's get on the record in State versus Jason Hall. It's indictment 22 SC 184215. Good morning, Mr. Hall.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. McBurney?
I'm doing okay, Mr. Hall. It is important that today you look in my direction or your lawyer's direction, and that's it. Don't look back. There's not going to be anything going on in this courtroom today like whatever happened last time. And I'm not taking sides on this. Things just spun out of control in a way that they should not in a courtroom. And I've already talked with folks who are here, who have a right to be here to express their support and solidarity. It's important that you stay focused in my direction or your lawyer's direction. All right, we're going to get going on the immunity motion. Ms. Feely filed an immunity motion on the 28th of April. I noticed when I looked at the docket that actually Mr. Hall had filed an immunity motion in January of this year, but Mr. Hall has a lawyer. So generally we work off of the pleadings that an attorney files. I learned in doing some legal research on a completely different case this weekend that there was a recent Supreme Court opinion that says that pleadings filed by represented defendants are not necessarily legal nullities, that judges exercise some discretion. This doesn't matter here. Ms. Feely's motion is proper and we're going to litigate it, but just as a point of information going forward, just because a defendant has a lawyer doesn't mean that courts must ignore pro se pleadings. They may, but they don't have to. Interesting legal development. I want to give you a thumbnail sketch of what I understand the allegations to be in the immunity motion. Which isn't me making any factual findings, but I want to make sure I'm following it. And then I think we need to talk a little bit procedurally because the defense had some witness appearance issues. And I also heard Mr. Abate saying he was going to be objecting to something, which is free to do. But if there are things we could work out in advance, let's do that. But first, as I understand the defense's perspective, at the end of April last year, Mr. Hall was at home with his girlfriend, who happens to be a mother and a grandmother. And arriving at the place where Mr. Hall and his girlfriend were staying were Mr. Hall's girlfriend, Ms. Stuckey. Ms. Stuckey's daughter showed up. She showed up with her boyfriend and her child. In other words, Ms. Stuckey's grandchild. And in theory, the purpose of Ms. Stuckey's arrival was to, Ms. Scott's arrival. Ms. Scott's arrival was to drop her daughter, Ms. Stuckey's granddaughter, off to be with grandma. People on the outside heard a commotion on the inside. and Mr. Blount went in to figure out what the heck was going on. The defense allegation is that Mr. Blount entered Mr. Hall's dwelling, apartment, house, whatever it is, with a gun drawn, and that Mr. Hall didn't know Mr. Blount. There's this stranger coming in through his front door with a gun. Struggle ensues, and Mr. Blount is killed. Mr. Hall is insisting that he acted in self-defense, in defense of others, the other being Ms. Stuckey, and in defense of his home, all of which are, if factually supported, legal bases for an immunity motion. And I'm sure this will get fleshed out more, but do I have, that we're basically talking about 3 generations, but the connection is through Ms. Stuckey, not through Mr. Hall.
Right.
Okay. And that's what you think the facts will be.
Yes.
All right. Tell me what procedural things we need to work through before you call your first witness, or the state calls, however you guys are going to work this out.
So whichever way the court wants to do it, I do intend to call Mr. Hall for the purposes of this hearing. And I would also like to get on the record some things about why Ms. Stuckey is essentially refusing to appear.
Okay.
I have several recorded statements of hers that I realize wouldn't be able to, I would want to do it for the limited purpose of where she tells us why she's scared and why she's not coming to court. Of course, she gets into the facts too, and I understand that we wouldn't be able to do that. And frankly, I don't want to burn this bridge with her because we need her for trial.
Okay. So you've got the burden to prove by a preponderance that the actions were justified. So you'll call Mr. Hall. It sounds like there's been a slight shift. Maybe you and Mr. Abate have more discussions about it, but you don't intend to call Ms. Stuckey either remotely or in person. And you have reasons why Ms. Stuckey is reluctant. I don't know that that's germane in the end. If you've got the power to have someone declared a material witness and you're telling me you are, for all sorts of, I assume, wise strategic reasons, not burning that bridge. So I don't know that we need to get into why she's not here, but there may be a legal basis, you think, for that. But is that a change from what I understood things to be as they were wrapping up on Friday, that in fact, there's going to be no testimony from Ms. Stuckey?
So she never agreed to testify via Zoom. I was hopeful that I could convince her to over the weekend, but
Okay.
I've been in touch with her all morning and she is not.
Okay, so she will not be testifying. Anything, I'll hear from Mr. Abate in a minute. He may say, go ahead and listen to what Ms. Stuckey has to say about why she's not here. But other than you sharing with me that development that Ms. Stuckey won't be testifying, anything else up front?
And she also did send us pictures, and the state has these as well, of what happened to her apartment, which was the incident location. It was essentially the door kicked in and vandalized. And so that is also goes to show that she has reason to be fearful. She's not just being difficult.
What happened on April 30th or what happened later on?
I guess Mr. Abate believes it was April 30th. That's not the information that I got, that it was a little bit later than that, but.
Okay, and I don't want us to get hung up on the date. Let me ask it differently. You have what you believe are photos of the scene of the crime at that time, or they would be photos of what happened to Ms. Stuckey 3 days later, because from her perspective, friends and family of Mr. Blount were reacting to what happened, and that has made her afraid to testify.
That's correct. And I don't have anything to dispute that it happened that day. She just didn't see it until later, essentially, when she went back to her apartment. Okay.
Well, I'm confused. Would it be Ms. Stuckey's testimony that I was home with Mr. Hall and the door was kicked in and Mr. Blount was killed, or it was after Mr. Blount was killed that my door was kicked in and my apartment vandalized? That's all I'm getting at, is that it's after the death of Mr. Blount.
Right.
Okay, so it's not related to the actual incident. It is related, but it is not concurrent with the actual incident.
Correct.
Got it. Whether it was 20 minutes later or 20 days later, it was not the incident.
Right.
Law enforcement had come, Mr. Blount had been rushed to the hospital or declared dead at the scene and removed, but it was after that?
It was reactionary.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Abate, any procedural things before Ms. Feely calls Mr. Hall?
No, Judge.
Okay. What is your view on whether Ms. Feely ought to be able to tender for purposes of this hearing phone calls from Ms. Stuckey explaining why she's not testifying?
I mean, since the court is the fact finder, I'll leave the court in its full discretion. I don't think they're relevant. What's Ms. Stuckey, or what I understand Ms. Stuckey's referring to, is something that occurred on April 30th of 2022, right after the incident, when she wasn't even home. She was at the police station with Detective Barry. Okay.
Ms. Feely, does Ms. Stuckey talk about things that happened after April 30th, or in these calls that you have, or the focus is the April 30th situation?
The April 30th situation.
Okay. All right. Why don't we do this? I'm going to table for now. Why don't you revisit before you rest? Why don't you renew a request to tender whatever it is you want to tender? You could describe what it is, and I'll make it part of the record. I don't want it to be not in the record. I may tell you I'm not going to consider it because Ms. Stuckey's not here. And so what she has to say, she needs to come in and say in court if she's going to say something, either in this setting or if there is a trial for Mr. Hall at the time of the trial. But let's make sure we revisit it before the record closes. Okay. All right. With that, if you want to call your first witness.
Would the court want Mr. Hall at the witness stand, or?
Yes, on the stand under oath.
Raise your right hand. This is where I affirm that the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth of God. Go ahead, spell your name for the record. Just a moment.
Mr. Hall, I need you, and if you can't, I'll get Deputy Gordon to do it, but that microphone needs to be near you. Will there be, the screen's all nice and clear, so we're good. And well, let's see if you can, why don't you say your name again? Let me see if Ms. Rivers can hear that.
Jason Hall.
How was that, Ms. Rivers?
That was good. Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right, Mr. Hall, for purposes of this hearing, I'm going to jump you right to the date of April 30th of 2022. Where were you?
Your Honor, was the witness sworn in?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I missed that.
Excuse me, ask the question again.
Where were you on April 30th of 2022?
I was at home at 537 Sunset Avenue.
Who else was there?
Me and my girlfriend, Nivea Stecken.
And what happened? Did anybody else come over?
Her daughter pulled up after they said they heard an argument outside. That's who I expected to see, only just her daughter.
Okay, and when you say her daughter, who is, what's your girlfriend's name?
Nivea Stecken.
And what's her daughter's name?
Nirvana Scott.
All right, so Ms. Scott comes over, you said she pulled up, and then what happened?
I was in the house watching TV. Nivea Stecken went outside. I guess they arrived. Nivea Stecken went outside to go retrieve her granddaughter or see her granddaughter or whatever, her granddaughter that was in the car.
Did you go outside?
No, I didn't go outside at all.
Where were you?
I was in the house watching TV, sitting on the couch.
And after Ms. Stuckey went outside, what did you see her again?
I didn't see her till she came back in the house with Mr. Blunt.
Okay, so tell us exactly what happened.
She came back in the house with Mr. Blunt. I was sitting on the couch watching television, and I wasn't expecting Mr. Blunt to be even there. I just thought her daughter was coming. So as I was sitting on the couch, I looked to the door, and I thought it was Nivea by herself coming, but I double take and looked again. It was a guy with her coming through the door.
Okay,
So
let me stop you. Did you know this man?
no, not for sure. I didn't know if it was him or not for sure, because I never really seen him face to face. I never met him before.
Okay, and describe, they're coming through the door, and what part of your house are they coming through?
They were coming through the back door, the entry of the kitchen.
Okay, so the kitchen, and then can you see that door from where you are on the couch?
Yes,
Okay. So they came through the kitchen, and where's Nivea at this time?
I think she's behind Mr. Blunt.
All right, and tell us what happens from there.
As he approached, I was already kind of timid when he came through the door because I wasn't expecting no male to be with her. So as he approached, I stands up and I extended my hand to him because I thought that he was trying to come and introduce himself. So I extended my hand to him. He didn't want to shake my hand. He just approached me irrational and just shoved me. He shoved me. And then after he shoved me, my girlfriend jumped between them to stop him from, you know what I'm saying, trying to attack me. And I threw my hands up like, dang, what did I do to you? And after I threw my hands up, he just draw the firearm on me in my house.
All
For
right,
no apparent reason. I didn't provoke him to even draw a firearm. I was trying to speak to him in a friendly manner.
was anything said between the two of you?
No, not when he first came in.
All right, where did he pull the firearm from?
He pulled it from his waist. He had it
And-
concealed under a coat.
Describe what the firearm looked like.
It was like, it was an all black firearm. It had a extended magazine, a very long magazine, like a 20, 30 round magazine on it.
And so you said he took it out of his waistband.
Yes.
Okay, what
Yeah.
happened then?
He branched it on me and he said something to the fact that, you know what it is, I'll bust you. And automatically that drew fear to me because I wasn't expecting that at all.
You said at the beginning of this that these people heard arguing.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I guess they heard arguing. I don't know who heard arguing, but I guess people did hear arguing. What we were talking loud, it was just a verbal argument. It wasn't nothing physical or nothing.
all right, so once the firearm is pulled, what happens?
After firearm was pulled, I just held up my arms. I just held up my hands. I didn't want him to shoot me. So I waited out of fear, I just waited my turn. Then he went by the door. He went to the door, I guess, to check to see where she was. And at that moment, I reached right behind me where my firearm was, and I grabbed my firearm and started firing immediately. I didn't know what was on this guy's mind. He just came in and just attacked me unexpectedly for no reason. I did not initiate or provoke the confrontation. I wasn't committing a crime when he came into the home at the time, and I didn't definitely agree to any mutual combat with this guy.
All right, what happened after you fired shots?
Excuse me.
What happened after you shot?
After I shot, nothing. I just put my firearm down. Then I didn't even know he was hit. Really, I didn't even know he was hit.
Where'd you go?
I just came out the steps and went down the steps, and and the neighbors came out, and I was yelling. I started yelling. He pulled a firearm out on me. The firearm on me. The guy who had it on ring camera. I think he came out. The guy who got the ring camera footage. All those guys came outside. Everybody came outside. I said he came in and pulled a firearm out. He pulled a firearm out. I said it like 3 or 4 times. And Nirvana Scott was out there. She was out there, and I kept screaming. He pulled a firearm out on me. And then my girlfriend said, I heard her behind me. She said, he sure did. She said, he sure did. And then I was finna stay wait on the police to arrive, but my girlfriend, out of fear and panic, my girlfriend even told me just leave.
I'm gonna object, Your Honors, to hearsay. What his
Okay.
girlfriend told him.
So don't talk about what Ms. Stuckey was saying. You can talk about what you did, but not what Ms. Stuckey said.
Okay.
So you were, after this happened, where did you go?
I went to a friend's house
And why didn't you stay at the scene?
because I just told you why I didn't stay at the scene, from fear and panicking.
You said fear and panic.
Yes.
Why were you afraid to remain at the scene though?
I was afraid because it just in my mind, I wasn't in my right mind at the time. I wasn't in my right mind of what just happened. I was just overwhelmed by all the events that just had taken place.
So when you Actually, Your Honor, for purposes of this hearing, I think that's all the questions I have for Mr. Hall
Okay.
at this time.
Why don't you state, I have a few questions for him, so you may have a little bit of follow-up after I'm done, and then we'll let Mr. Abate go. Mr. Hall, the address you said was 537 Sunset Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Is that a house or an apartment?
Apartment.
Apartment, and who lived in that apartment?
Me and my girlfriend, Nivea Stuckey.
Okay. And was that, like, your belongings were there, or you were just visiting Miss Stuckey?
No, all my belongings was there.
So if you were getting something in the mail, it would go to 537 Sunset Avenue,
Yes.
and no kids lived there, just the two of you.
Our grandson lived there with us too, but he wasn't home at the time.
Okay. Is the apartment in her name or your name?
It's in her name.
Were you expecting Ms. Scott to be showing up?
I expected Miss Scott showing up, but not Mr. Blunt.
Understood, but it wasn't a surprise that Ms. Scott showed up.
No, it wasn't a surprise. Well, actually, she never showed up. She never came in the house.
You mentioned that you knew she arrived. You said, I was watching TV and then Ms. Scott arrived. How did you know she showed up?
Because I think she called her mother phone.
Okay. But you assumed that Miss Scott was coming just with her daughter, Miss Stuckey's granddaughter.
That's correct.
And there's a phone call or a text or something, and Miss Stuckey goes outside. I'm gonna go get my granddaughter.
That's correct.
You said you didn't really know Mr. Blunt. Did you know he existed? Meaning you knew Miss Scott had a boyfriend named Mr. Blunt?
Yes, I knew of him. Yes, I did know of him, but we never met formally. We were never formally introduced.
Okay. And I want to make sure I'm understanding your words. Never formally introduced, but you'd seen him before? Like you've been in the same room with him before?
Actually, I seen him pass before while I've been sitting in the car, but it was around COVID. He had a mask on his face. So I'm not paying attention. I can't see his face.
Okay. You guys had never said, hey, I'm Mr. Hall, and he said, I'm Mr. Blunt. Nothing like that.
Never.
You mentioned that you testified that Mr. Blunt pointed the gun at you and your hands were up. What's up? And then I couldn't quite follow what happened next. He went to check on Ms. Stuckey. At some point, he's not wagging the gun in your face. He's doing something else. What's he doing?
He goes by the front. He goes out the door. I guess to check to see where his girlfriend is.
So you said he came in through, I think you described it, the back door.
Yeah.
So the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen is connected to the living room. It's a very small apartment. Everything is just joined together.
But it's got a front and a back door.
It got a side door. Yeah, it got a front door, and it got a back door too.
It's got 3 doors?
No, we got a front door and a side door. Well, it's a front door. It's like on the side of the apartment, but it's the front door.
Okay. And so Mr. Blunt came in through what we're going to call the back door, through the kitchen. He confronts you, and then he leaves through the front or side door, the other door?
No, he went right back out the door. He was at the door.
Same door he came in.
Yeah.
So he turned away from you and was in the process of leaving, or he actually had gone out of the apartment?
He was actually still by the door. He left the apartment, but he was still in front of the door, like he was trying to re-enter the apartment.
Okay. And you got your gun and started firing after Mr. Blunt had done whatever he was going out. You don't know what he was doing, whether he was.
I don't know what he was doing.
Okay. But he had already headed in that direction.
It happened so fast. It happened like in real time. It happened less than a minute. Like the whole ordeal lasted approximately less than a minute.
Okay. And I need you to share with me a little bit more about whatever argument or raised voices. You said, yeah, people said maybe they heard some arguing. So yeah, there probably was some arguing. It wasn't physical. Were you and Ms. Stuckey having some kind of debate or dispute at the time that Ms. Scott showed up?
Yes, we were having a dispute about what I was watching on TV. She was mad I was watching YouTube, and she wanted to watch a certain program, and she got mad and started really screaming and fussing at me about what she wanted to watch on TV. It was a petty disagreement.
Okay. And I'm not judging whether it was serious or not. I mean, people want to watch their show. They want to watch their show.
Exactly.
But if I'm on the outside of your apartment, then, because you mentioned it's a real small apartment, maybe I'm hearing some yelling going on.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that yelling was happening at the time that Miss Scott showing up with the granddaughter.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all I've got.
Just real quickly, Mr. Hall, where was Miss Stuckey at the time you fired the shots?
She was behind me because I was trying to protect her too. After he pulled out the gun, I was trying to protect her too. So she was standing behind me.
And how quickly was Mr. Blunt going towards the door?
How
Was
quickly?
he running, walking?
Oh, he was walking.
All right. And you said this happened in compressed
Yeah,
amount of
compressed
time.
time.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Abate, you're up. Let me take a couple more notes and then when you're ready. All right. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Hall.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning.
Can you tell the court, how long had you and Ms. Stuckey been in a relationship?
8 years.
Okay. And at the time that the incident occurred on April 30th, you actually had a residence or a place where you lived in East Point, correct?
Oh, they sold the place.
Okay. And as you testified on direct, the lease actually belonged to Ms. Stuckey, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So on April 30th of 2022, you were just staying inside of her house, correct?
I've been staying with her for 6 months. She was previously staying with me, but then she got her apartment.
Okay.
When you say staying with you, the East Point
Yeah.
address that Mr. Abate is talking about?
She was staying with me at that address.
Okay. And how long had she been staying at the 537 Sunset Avenue address?
She been staying there for like 3 or 4 years, but she never actually stayed at the apartment. She always came over to my house. She had that apartment and I had my apartment at the time, but she was over my house the majority of the time.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Like co-shared places, like basically.
so it sounds like you had your own place, she had her own place, and because you guys were in a relationship, sometimes you and her would stay at your place, and sometimes y'all would stay at her place, correct?
Yes, and my apartment building had eventually got sold due to COVID. The owner sold it because he wasn't getting paid rent from the other tenants, so he sold the building. Then I moved in with Ms. Stuckey.
Okay. Now, you told the court this was the first time you had, I guess, crossed paths with Corey, Mr. Blount?
Yes, I know. I said this wasn't the first time. I said I seen him before when he walked past while I was sitting in the car with Miss Stuckey. This was the second time I crossed paths with her.
Okay. And do you remember on the night of the incident, you were speaking on speakerphone with Miss Stuckey, and you actually told the detective that you had previously been, I guess, around him and interacted with him at her daughter, Miss Scott's home previously?
No, never. I never told her to say that.
Okay, you don't remember that?
I know, I've never said it.
Okay.
I want to make sure I'm following you because you're soft-spoken, Mr. Hall. You're saying you never said those words or you don't remember if you said those?
I never said those words.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's talk about, so how long had you known Miss Scott?
Her daughter?
Yes.
Since she was like 13, 14 years old.
Okay, and
I don't know how old Ms. Scott is, but basically
She's like
you've known
22.
Ms. Scott as long as you've known Ms. Stuckey.
Yeah. So
She didn't hide her daughter from you.
no,
Okay.
so you've known her for 8 years, is what you testified earlier.
like 7 or 8 years.
Okay, and in those 7 or 8 years, isn't it true? I guess you and Miss Scott at times had butted heads, correct?
One time.
Okay, and in those 8 years, isn't it true that you and Miss Stuckey had pretty loud arguments in front of Miss Scott? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, but who doesn't? Like that's common. We're in a relationship. We have arguments. They should know. She should know how her mother have drinks and get loud, argue with me. It takes 2 people to argue. So I'm not the only one that's arguing. You know what I'm saying? With Miss Stuckey. She argues and hollers at me too.
Okay, and so that's a yes. You guys have been pretty loud. I guess you to her and her to you, correct?
Yeah.
And all in front of Miss Scott, correct?
Yes.
And you said that you had, I guess, been in, or you were staying at the 537 Sunset Avenue with Miss Stuckey on April 30th of 2022. Do you know when her lease was up or when it ran?
No, I don't.
Okay. You didn't know that the lease was up on May 1st of 2022.
I don't know. That's not my business. I don't know nothing about that.
You said it's not your business.
No.
Okay.
I thought you said you were living, that your East Point lease had ended.
My East Point lease, they sold the building.
Okay, you're right. That's what you said. The place where you were living, you couldn't live there anymore because they sold it. I think another tenant wasn't paying rent and the owner said, look, I got to sell this place. So your only roof over your head was Ms. Stuckey's apartment.
Correct.
And you're saying that you were unaware that the day or two, I don't know if April it only has 30 days, the day after this situation, your lease that you were sharing with Ms. Stuckey was up.
No, I was unaware of that.
Okay.
And over the number of years that you and Ms. Stuckey had been in a relationship, can you tell the court, had she ever on multiple occasions tried to leave you?
I mean, what girl don't say they'll leave you? She'll leave. She left me several times and came right back. When you mad, that's what you do. You
Okay.
leave and come back. That's normal.
And did you know that she had plans to leave you on May 1st when her lease was up?
You know, she had plans to try to leave me several years ago. She get mad. She says it all the time,
Okay.
but she never carried it out. I said, I'm gonna leave her.
So did you know that she planned to leave you on May 1st?
No.
Okay. And had you and Ms. Stuckey, you guys had recently just, I guess, gotten back from a trip to Puerto Rico, correct?
Yes.
And during that trip to Puerto Rico, you actually physically assaulted Ms. Stuckey, correct?
Nope, that's false. Because the court in Puerto Rico, they didn't even try to pursue charges in Puerto Rico because they found that was not true.
But you went to jail for physically assaulting Ms. Stuckey.
No, they questioned it. They detained me. They said they released me right after that.
Did you get
She-
placed?
She got detained. She got to fight with one of her homegirls. That's what had happened.
Okay.
She was drunk in Puerto Rico and didn't know where she was. She got lost in Puerto Rico, whatever had happened to her. And she called the police to bring her back to the Airbnb where we were staying. But she had got into a fight with her own friend. And the police came questioning, detained me. But they released me immediately.
So is it your testimony you were detained for, at the time, allegedly assaulting Ms. Stuckey?
They didn't even charge me. They didn't even tell me what I was detained for in Puerto Rico.
Were you placed in handcuffs?
Yeah, they placed me in handcuffs, but I didn't even sign no paperwork or nothing. They just let me go in Puerto Rico.
And that was fairly recent or pretty close in time to April 30th of 2022, correct?
It was like, yeah, it was April. I mean, it happened in March 27.
Okay. So now let's go to April 30th. Now, let me ask you this question. Would it surprise you if several of the neighbors indicated or told other people that you and Ms. Stuckey argued very loudly, very often?
Now, would it surprise me if I hear the neighbors arguing too? I hear everybody else arguing too.
Okay. But my question though is it's not about the neighbors.
No, it's not about that. I hear them arguing too. I hear everybody. We're in a small, tiny, thin apartment. We in a small
So,
apartment.
Mr. Hall, here's how it needs to work. You do need to answer Mr. Abate's questions, yes or no, or maybe, or I don't know, whatever your answer is, you're free to explain it. So there's nothing wrong with you saying, I'm gonna pretend the answer was yes. Yes, we argued loudly, but so did everyone else in the neighborhood. You can do that. But please make sure, instead of saying, well, other neighbors argue too, answer his question, and then however you want to explain it, you do that, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think I heard you as, like the judge said, is it yes, you guys argued often, but you also heard the neighbors arguing as well?
Yeah. I mean, you can hear talking through the walls.
Okay.
We're in a small, thin wall, small apartment.
Okay, so on April 30th of 2022, did you know that Miss Scott and her or I guess her daughter, who would be Miss Stuckey's granddaughter, were coming over that night?
Yeah.
Okay, and you and Miss Stuckey were arguing that night, right?
Yeah.
And you were arguing loud enough that people could hear you outside of the apartment building, correct?
Correct.
And Miss Stuckey got a call that Miss Scott was down in the parking lot, correct?
Yes.
And as a result of that phone call, Miss Stuckey went down the stairs and to the car where her granddaughter was, right?
Yes. Correct.
I
And
need you to pause for a sec. So your apartment, Mr. Hall, I'm hearing now about going downstairs, and I don't know why I was thinking of it, but I assumed that if I walked out your back door or your side door, I'm on the parking lot pavement. You guys are second floor, third floor?
Second floor.
Second floor. So to go to the parking lot means you're going down some stairs. 2 stairs, 10 stairs?
10 stairs.
Okay, so your standard, a whole flight of stairs to get from one floor down to another. Thank you.
and Mr. Hoff, Judge Matt Approach,
You may.
I'm going to show you what the market states exhibits 5 and 6. Do you recognize those?
Yep.
And how do you recognize states exhibits 5 and 6?
That's where I live.
Okay. And do states exhibits 5 and 6 fairly and accurately depict 537 Sunset Avenue, the incident location where Mr. Corey Blount was shot on April 30th, 2022?
Right.
This time around, the state would tender what's been marked as states exhibits 5 and 6 into evidence.
Ms. Feely, any objection to states 5 and 6 for this hearing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, they're admitted. Mr. Hall, they may appear on the screen in front of you in a moment as well. You're welcome to look at the actual exhibits. It may be easier to look at the screen, whatever's best for you.
All right, we're just gonna give the judge the pictures. And zoom there we go.
Okay.
So, how long had you and Miss Stuckey been arguing?
Probably like 10 minutes.
Okay, and the arguing, like we just talked about, it had gotten pretty loud, right?
Yeah.
And while Miss Stuckey had gone down the stairs to see Miss Scott, you remained inside the apartment, correct?
Correct.
And while you're inside the apartment, you can't hear Miss Stuckey and Miss Scott and Mr. Blount talking, correct?
No, I can't hear.
There's nothing loud or boisterous going on outside around the car where your Miss Stuckey's granddaughter and daughter and Mr. Blount were, correct?
No, because I'm inside the home watching TV, so I'm not paying attention to what's going on outside. I think she just going to retrieve her granddaughter. I wasn't, everything else was unexpected.
And when they arrived, you were just inside your home watching TV and you two were yelling, correct?
Yeah, that's it, basically.
And they could hear you yelling over the TV that you had been watching, correct?
I don't know if they could or not. I don't know if they could or not.
Now, can you tell the court, how long was Ms. Stuckey outside talking with her daughter and Mr. Blount?
Could have been no more than 5 minutes.
Okay. And do you remember that when Ms. Stuckey went outside to meet them, she was pretty upset, correct?
Yeah, she was. She had an attitude. Yeah, she was.
Okay. And she was also visibly upset, correct?
I mean, if you can say that, if you want to say that.
I'm asking you, do you recall if she was visibly upset?
Yeah, she was upset about what she wanted to watch on TV.
Okay.
What were you watching on YouTube that she didn't want to watch?
I was watching music videos, and she wanted to watch a show that come on a different network, one of her TV shows.
Okay. And did Miss Scott and her daughter, Miss Stuckey's granddaughter, did they come over to the 537 Sunset Avenue apartment often?
Not very often. No, not at all.
Okay.
Does that mean once a month, once a year, once a week?
Actually, her granddaughter probably been over to her house like 2 or 3 times.
How old roughly was the granddaughter at the time of this incident?
1 or 2.
Years old?
Yeah.
Okay, and your recollection is that, I know you didn't live at Sunset the whole time, you were in East Point as well, but this would have been, if the granddaughter had come in the apartment, this would have been only like the 3rd or 4th time?
Second or third.
Second or third? Okay.
Now, after 5 or so minutes pass, you said that Miss Stuckey and Corey come upstairs, correct?
Corey is Mr.
Blount, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to be mispronouncing it. Is it pronounced Blount or Blunt?
Blount is mine. Blount.
Blunt, like a cigarette. Okay, all right, thank you. Blunt it is.
And so after 5 or so minutes, that's when Miss Stuckey and Mr. Blount came up the stairs, correct?
That's correct.
And Miss Stuckey came in first, correct?
I think Mr. Blunt came in first.
Okay. And the door was unlocked, right?
Yes.
And as Mr. Blunt was entering the apartment, you did not hear Miss Stuckey saying, no, don't go in, Mr. Corey or Mr. Blunt, correct?
No, I know what she told me what happened while he entered.
I'm asking you what you heard.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
You did not hear that, correct?
No.
And when the door opened, he came in, you didn't hear Miss Stuckey say, get out of the apartment, correct?
No.
And the apartment belongs to or is in the name of Miss Stuckey, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now it's, you said during direct that Mr. Blunt comes in and does what?
Approaching me and shoves me.
And shoves you?
Yes.
Okay.
I tried to, thought he was coming in to introduce himself. I was trying to give him the benefit of doubt because I was already nervous when he walked through the door because I wasn't expecting the guy to be with her. Like I said, when he first came in, I didn't know if it was Corey or not because I never seen his face close up. I never seen him. I never been face to face with him before.
And my recollection of your testimony was Mr. Blunt's coming towards you, you stand up
Yeah, and try to.
and then there's the shove.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And after the shove, is there an exchange of words?
No, there's no exchange of words. After the shove, my Nivea Stuckey tried to stop him, prevent him from shoving me again. And I'm sitting there like with my hands up, like, why you putting your hands on me? You know what I'm saying? Why you assaulting me? I ain't touch you. I ain't provoke you to even touch me. You know what I'm saying? Then after I put my hands up, after he pushed me, She tried to break it up for him, not to stop him from attacking me. He whips out a firearm on me.
Now, when he shoves you, you don't fall, correct?
No, I don't. I just stumble back a little.
Okay, and Miss Stuckey gets in the middle. She doesn't fall. She doesn't get injured, correct?
No, she don't get injured at all.
Okay. And you said that at that point, Mr. Blunt pulls out a firearm.
Yes.
And what does he do with it?
He branched it in my direction like he was finna shoot me. And luckily, after he shoved me, I didn't attempt to shove him back. Because if I would have attempted to shove him back, I would have been shot because he had the gun hid on his coat. It's like he was trying to provoke me to shoot me.
So let's be clear, he didn't shoot you, correct?
No, because I didn't give him the satisfaction to shoot me. I didn't let him provoke me to shoot me.
Okay, and it's your testimony that he pointed the gun at you, right?
Yeah.
And
So I want to better understand that because I've heard you say brandish. Mr. Abate said point. You're welcome to stand up. If you could stand up and just sort of stand with your back to that little wall there so everyone can see it. If you step on down, yep, step on towards the jury box and then turn towards, it's perfect. So I know you can't move real well, but he pulls it out of his waistband and he brandishes it like you can see it's in his hand or the barrel is up against your forehead.
He pointed my direction. He branched it and it was sideways. He pulled it out sideways in the magazine.
So it's gangster style sideways, yeah. But it's pointed at you. If the trigger had been pulled and a bullet came out, that bullet's hitting you. It's not that it was pointing at the ground and he's just letting you know the hardware he has.
Trigger was shit and it went off on the hit.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want any other demonstration, Mr. Abate?
no, Judge.
Judge, I didn't hear his answer.
Oh, okay. If you'd repeat your answer, that was my mistake. I had you move away from the microphone. And so my question was the gun pointed at you or was it just brandished? And you tell the court reporter what you said.
It was pointed at me. The gun was pointed at me.
Okay, and but during all this time, isn't it true that Miss Stuckey is in between you and Mr. Blunt, correct?
Yes, and the gun could have hit her too while she was in the middle.
Okay, and is it your testimony? There's no verbal exchange between you and Mr. Blunt.
None whatsoever.
No words are exchanged at all.
No, but that he was gonna shoot. That he said that you know what it is. I'll bust you. That's what he said to me.
And you didn't respond.
No.
Okay.
I was lost for words. How could I respond? Somebody got a gun. I ain't finna say. I'm not gonna respond to get shot.
Okay. And from the time that he walks into Miss Stuckey's apartment and you get up, you don't say anything. That's your testimony here today.
I say not a word to him. Only thing I did is try to offer my hand, try to introduce myself to him. That's the only thing I did.
Okay. And do you remember telling Miss Stuckey and Detective Barry that he came in or she brought him in there to check me?
No, I don't remember telling Detective Barry that.
Okay. You don't remember saying that at all?
No.
Okay. Now, you talked about on direct that while Miss Stuckey's in between both you and Mr. Blunt, he turns around and goes to the front door, correct?
Back door. The door he came out, it's the back door, but we call it the front, but that's the door we always use to come in out the back door.
So my apologies. So he goes back towards the door he came in, which is the door by that leads through the kitchen, correct?
That's correct.
And he went out the door, correct?
Yeah, by the time he going out the door, I'm already going for my firearm immediately.
And before that, though, Miss Stuckey slams the door, correct?
Not to my knowledge. I don't remember slamming the door.
Okay. I want to show you State's Exhibits 7 through 13.
Mr. Hall, while Mr. Abate's getting those, State's Exhibit 6, you don't think you can figure out Zoom? You're usually kind of okay with Zoom.
Which one is 6, Judge?
6 is the stair. I'm just trying to understand which door is the side door versus the front door. Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Hall, if you look on the screen there, this is State's Exhibit 6. There's a stairway and there's a door to the right of the stairway at the top. Is that the door to Ms. Stuckey's apartment, or are you on the other side of the landing?
I'm on the other side of the landing where the red mop is.
Okay, red mop. And that door that we can't see but is near the red mop, would that be what you were calling the side door or the door to the kitchen?
That's the door to the kitchen.
Okay, so the door that Ms. Stuckey would have gone out of to go down to the parking lot to see her daughter and her granddaughter is the door that's by that red mop,
Yes.
all the way down those stairs. And then she came back in through that door with Mr. Blunt.
That's correct.
Okay. Where was Mr. Blunt when you shot him? Was he on the landing there?
Yeah, he was right there by the red mop.
By the red mop. Okay, thank you. I interrupted you. You had 7 through 13. They're up there with Mr. Hall.
Now, Mr. Hall, you had an opportunity. I know the judge is asking some questions. You need some more time to look at State Exhibits 7 through 13.
No.
Okay, and do you recognize State Exhibits 7 through 13?
Yes.
And what are State Exhibits 7 through 13 photographs of?
Oh, the door that Mr. Blunt entered.
Okay, are they fair and accurate depictions of how the door that led through the kitchen of apartment 6 at 537 Sunset Avenue appeared on April 30th of 2022?
Yeah.
This time around, the state would tender what's been marked as State Exhibits 7 through 13.
Any objection to those exhibits, Ms. Feely?
Not for purposes of this hearing, Your Honor.
Okay, they're admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Now, you said that he, Mr. Blunt, went towards the door that's in the middle of the kitchen. He stopped at the door to check on Ms. Scott. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I guess I guess that's what he was finna do.
Okay. And is it your testimony today that you did not hear or see the door close or get closed by Ms. Stuckey prior to you firing your firearm 8 times?
No, I didn't. No, I did not.
Okay. And where is Ms. Stuckey when you are shooting at the door?
She's standing behind me.
Then behind you.
Yes.
And where is Ms. Stuckey's grandson?
He's gone over. He was at his dad's house.
Okay. And you said, do you remember how many times you fired your gun?
Like 7 times, 7, 8 times.
Where did you get the gun from?
I bought it from somebody.
That was a bad question for. Where did you get the gun from inside of the apartment?
It was behind me on the couch. It was as soon as he came in the house, the gun was already under the armrest where I was sitting at. As soon as he came in the house, because I had the gun already with me because of the neighborhood I was staying in. Some guys had been knocking on my door. Some guys who just moved in the neighborhood, and so I was already, you know what I'm saying, trying to protect my house at the time anyway from the people that had just moved over there.
Mhm.
So the gun was already sitting up under the armrest. I used to keep it put up, but that particular day before he came, it was already with me, sitting up under the armrest.
And you had told Detective Barry and Ms. Stuckey when you were on that phone call that people have been knocking on your door to buy weed, correct?
Some guys just moved over there. They've been trying to buy weed, looking for what the weed was.
Okay.
I didn't trust them because they kept knocking on the door.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you see in make sure I got the number right. I'm sorry. In State's Exhibit 10. And while I'm getting the State's Exhibit 10, Mr. Hall, can you tell the court, after you shot in the direction of the door, can you tell the court what you did next?
I came out the door. Next.
Okay, and when you came out the door, you saw Corey laying on the ground bleeding, correct?
That's correct.
And when
Before you go further, when you say you came out the door, did you have to open the door to get out to the landing, or you simply walked through an already open door?
It was cracked, semi-cracked already. It wasn't fully closed. So I just opened it up and walked out.
Okay. So I'm confused. I thought you had testified that the door was open when you shot and that you don't recall Ms. Stuckey closing the door. When you shot in the direction of where you thought Mr. Blunt was that back door, side door, the kitchen door? Was it open or closed?
Closed.
It was closed. Okay.
Well, it was closed. It wasn't a jar all the way. It was a jar. It wasn't-
Okay. But you couldn't see, if I had been standing out there, you wouldn't have been able to see me on the other side of the door. I understand it wasn't latched
I
closed,
wouldn't be able to see you.
but you couldn't see who was on the landing. Ms. Stuckey's granddaughter could have been on the landing.
She wasn't on the landing.
But you didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Well, in fact, Mr. Hall, Ms. Stuckey's daughter, Ms. Scott, was on or near the landing, correct?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Oh.
So you don't know that as a result of you shooting through the door 8 times, not only was Mr. Blunt shot and killed, but Ms. Scott had been grazed by 2 bullets, one on her head and one towards her leg. You didn't know
I
that?
didn't know that because I didn't know. I thought she was still in the car because she never came up. I thought she was in the car with her granddaughter.
And you didn't know that because the door was closed when you shot 8 times and through the door, correct?
Correct.
So you had no idea who was on the other side of that door when you shot, correct?
I also didn't know who was on the other side of the door when he came in. When I was sitting in on the couch, I didn't know he was on the other side of the door.
But remember, you got to answer his question. You can explain it. But the question was, you didn't know who was on the other side of the door when you fired.
No, it could have been him or some more people on the other side of the door. I don't know who he was with. Like I said, I thought Miss Scott was by herself. That's who I was expecting to see.
Mhm. And you shot through the door 8 times, like you told Detective Barry, is because Mr. Blunt was a kid and you were a man and a kid wasn't going to check you, correct?
No, I said he came and approached a grown man. I didn't say a kid was gonna check me. I said I'm a grown man. He came in there and approached a grown man. That's all I said. I didn't say a kid was gonna check me. I never said that.
I'm not hearing you exactly right here. Are you saying he approached the wrong man or he approached a grown man?
He approached me. He approached a grown man in a childish manner.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you remember when as soon as you shot through the door, Miss Stuckey ran outside and went to, I guess, tender aid to Corey or Mr. Blunt. Do you remember that?
No, she ran downstairs behind me first. She was behind me, and after I said he pulled a gun on me, she ran downstairs after me, and she told me I said he pulled a gun on me. She said he sure did, and she ran behind me and told me to leave. She told me just leave, and then she told me she went back up to render aid.
So do you remember she comes out first, then you come out with your pistol in your hand and you say to the neighbors and anybody who could hear you, he pulled a pistol on me.
Yes.
Okay. And after you shot Mr. Blunt, isn't it true his gun was in his waist? You don't see it on the video
No, I don't recall where it was because I didn't even look at him.
because the door was closed.
Yeah, I don't know where the pistol was. I know he was armed.
And when you shot Mr. Blunt, he had left your apartment, or he had left Miss Stuckey's apartment, excuse me, and he was, for all intents and purposes, leaving to go back down to where Miss Scott's daughter was, correct?
No, that's not correct. Because if he was leaving, the steps are immediately to the right. He would have been there. He was still in front of the apartment at the door.
You would agree that you began to shoot through the door seconds after it closed and after Mr. Blunt had left the apartment, correct?
Yeah. That's how fast it happened. It happened that fast.
Okay, now, you didn't stay on scene, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't, you weren't injured, correct?
No, I wasn't.
And after you left the scene, you didn't, I guess, call 911, correct?
No, the neighbors already had called 911
How'd you know that?
because I heard them coming. I heard sirens.
You assume the neighbors had called 911.
Yep.
You don't remember seeing when you were, after Miss Stuckey came out and Miss Scott was screaming over Corey's body, that she was on the phone with 911 screaming that they come and help him. You don't remember that?
I don't remember. Like I said, it all happened so fast. Everything was a blur.
And you don't remember that while she's screaming and calling for help from 911, you're just walking around the terrace area or right on the landing with your pistol saying he pulled a gun on me first.
No, I came to the door with the pistol.
And at the time of the shooting, you were in, some blue shorts and a white shirt, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you had pretty long dreads at the time, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you describe to the court, show them how long was your hair, your dreads?
So my shoulders.
To your shoulders? Okay. And how long would that take you to grow?
Some years.
Some years? Okay. And so you told the court that you left the scene and went to a friend's house?
Yes.
And who was that?
My friend named Jay.
Okay.
Can you say that name again?
His name is Jay. We call him Jay also.
Jay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And when you got to Jay's house, did you tell Jay or ask Jay to call the police because you had been attacked?
No, I did not ask to call the police.
And do you remember telling Miss Stuckey and Detective Barry that you actually went to your aunt's house?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. And do you remember talking with Detective Barry and Miss Stuckey later that evening? And you had told Detective Barry you were going to come in the next day around 2 p.m. To speak with her. Do you remember telling that?
Yes, I did.
And you didn't come at 2 p.m. To meet with her or speak with her, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, while on the phone with Detective Barry, you either hung up or your phone dropped, correct?
No, neither. She said just call her tomorrow.
She said just call her tomorrow.
She said just come down to the precinct when I get off work the next day.
And y'all said bye?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Hall, how did you end up being on the phone with Detective Barry?
Nivea Stuckey placed the call. I guess my girlfriend placed the call, or Detective Barry told her to place a call.
Did you get a call from someone or did you call someone?
What you mean?
At some point, you're on the phone with Detective Barry.
Oh, she called me. My girlfriend called me.
Got it. A three-way.
No, Detective Barry was standing next to her.
Oh, so Ms. Stuckey and Detective Barry are in the same place.
Yeah.
Ms. Stuckey calls you. I'll answer that. Hey, I don't know what you call her. Hey, Ms. Stuckey.
I'm thinking she called me, but then she passed the phone to the detective.
Okay, so that's how you and Detective Barry ended up talking. You hadn't called the police saying, hey, there's this situation. Ms. Stuckey calls you. She says you need to talk to this person. And so for a while, you speak with Detective Barry.
That's correct.
Are you at Jay's when that's happening?
No, I was actually catching the Uber ride over to Jay's.
Okay, you hadn't even gotten to Jay's yet.
No.
Okay.
Now, the next day you did go see Detective Barry, correct?
No.
In fact, you either the next day or in the near future left the state of Georgia and went to Ohio, correct?
That's correct.
And you were arrested a few months later, July 8th of 2022 in Ohio, I believe at your sister's house, correct?
That's correct.
And you were arrested by members of the Marshals Fugitive Task Force, correct?
That's correct.
And all the time from April 30th of 2022 to July 8th of 2022, you did never reach out to or contact Detective Berry, right?
No,
And you had her contact information because she gave it to you, correct?
that's correct.
And instead, you chose to leave the city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia, and flee to Ohio, correct?
Well, actually, my intention was to get in touch with Mr. Berry, but at the present time, I was in fear of gang retaliation, and I was expecting for the detective Berry to have these guys arrested. These guys was hunting me like prey. So I was Corey, Mr. Blunt's gang members and all his family, whatever, whoever the guys are.
Well, Corey was dead.
I'm saying his people. They were still, after the retaliation, they were still trying to harm me.
And until today, you've never told anyone that anyone tried to harm you, correct?
Oh, I've been said that.
Did you tell Detective Berry that?
I told my attorney.
Okay, but other than your attorney, you've never told anybody that anyone from
No.
Corey's family had contacted you, correct?
No, my girlfriend told Detective Berry that.
Okay,
She told Detective Berry they tried to harm me and her.
well, we gotta talk about what you know, not what.
That's
your
what I
girlfriend
know.
knows.
But that's what I know, because she told me.
You know, that's like, you can't talk about what someone told you. We're talking about just what you know,
Okay.
right?
Well,
What you have heard, sorry.
it's tricky because you may know something because someone told you. If I told you it was raining today, you may say, yeah, it was raining today. Some guy told me. So it's a little tricky. And it may be you're trying to do your best to answer, and we'll guide you through what's hearsay and what's not if that comes up.
So if I'm understanding correctly, nobody from Corey's family or friend group had personally contacted you, correct?
No, they contacted my girlfriend.
Okay. So no one actually physically or verbally threatened specifically you through a phone call, correct?
Oh, no, they didn't have my number.
Okay. And isn't it true that you fled to Ohio to your sister's house the day after the incident, correct?
2 days after.
2 days after.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you were arrested on July 8th, well, I want to show you what's been marked as State Exhibits 1 and 2. Do you recognize State Exhibits 1 and 2?
Yeah,
How do you recognize State Exhibit 1 and 2?
that's me.
Okay. And is that how you looked? Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of how you looked when you were arrested on July 8th of 2022?
No,
Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of how you looked when you were booked into the Fulton County Jail after you were arrested on July 8th of 2022?
that's correct.
This time around, the state lieutenant with remarks to State Exhibits 1 and 2 of evidence.
Any objection for this hearing, the admission of states 1 and 2?
New York.
Admitted.
Now, Mr. Hall, in State Exhibits 1 and 2, your hair, your appearance is very different, correct?
Yes.
And can you tell the court, how is your hair or your appearance different in States Exhibits 1 and 2 than how you appeared on April 30th of 2022?
I cut my hair.
Right. And you cut your hair, your dreads that took you several years to grow after you shot and killed and fled to Ohio on April 30th of 2022.
Yes, because I had no one else to do them.
Okay.
What, I don't know what that means.
I mean, I had no one to retwist my hair. 'Cause my girlfriend used to retwist my hair. So it got to keep it up. It was all out of place. It was everywhere. So I cut my hair.
Well, in Ohio, who were you living with?
My sister.
And any other family or friends that you live up in Ohio with at that time?
No,
And no?
no.
Where'd you grow up, sir?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And how long has your sister lived in Ohio?
All her life.
All her life? And I guess are you and your sister, I guess, in a good place? Did you know each other pretty well?
Yeah, we knew each other, but I haven't been in Ohio in years.
Okay, and does she have kids?
Yeah,
How many?
5,
And how old is her oldest child?
like 8,
Okay, so
7, 8.
she has 5 children, so it's true, if you wanted her and you would ask for her help in twisting your hair, she would have done it, correct?
She don't know. She's not in that business.
She's not in that business?
She's not a hairstylist.
Okay, so it's your testimony that Ms. Stuckey's a hairstylist?
Well, she does hair. She twists my hair. She's my hairstylist.
Okay. And like how Ms. Stuckey was your hairstylist, your sister could have also been your hairstylist after April 30th of 2022, correct?
No, that's not correct because she don't know how to twist dreads.
Well, who does her 5 kids' hair?
They don't have dreads.
Well, that wasn't my question.
I
Who does?
don't know.
So you were there from, sounds like May 1st, May 2nd-ish to July 8th of 2022, right?
Yeah.
And during that time-
I was there a month and a half.
Okay. And during that month and a half, you lived in the house with all 5 of her kids, correct?
Yeah.
And so is it your testimony during that month and a half, you never saw your sister get her children's hair ready for school, church, or an event?
I sent them get haircuts.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna play a short portion of State Exhibit 4 and tell me if you recognize your own voice, okay?
And I don't mind first taking you home if you want, but could you just wait a little bit, and give it a little time? Meanwhile, I mean, we can get you to a more comfortable space. If you want to use the bathroom, I can get you a snack. I can get you some.
Judge, for the record, it's hard to control. In 20 seconds, is what I'm gonna ask him if he recognizes his voice.
Okay.
Like, tell me what you need right now.
Let me try to call him.
Let me sit here for that, if you don't mind.
This is. You have to tell me what the fuck. Hello. Jay. Yeah. Man, what the?
Mr. Hall, in that portion of the video, we hear a male's voice say hello, and then after you hear Ms. Stuckey say Dre, and you hear a male voice say yes. Is that your voice?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the phone call that was made to you by Ms. Stuckey on April 30th, 2022, after the shooting?
Yes.
At this time around, the state pretender was marked as State Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Which is a recording. It sounds like it's a recording of the call. It's not the call itself. That it's interview room audio visual in which Ms. Stuckey has called Mr. Hall, and we're hearing it that way.
Yes, it's a recording of the speakerphone phone call between Ms. Stuckey and Mr. Hall while she was with Detective Barry in interview room 1.
Okay, and Mr. Hall, is this the call you and I have already had? I asked you a couple questions about it. This is the one where you said, no, I didn't call anyone, and it wasn't a three-way call. Ms. Stuckey calls you and says, surprise, Detective Barry is here.
Yeah.
Okay. Any objection to states 4 coming in for the purposes of this hearing?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay, it's admitted.
Thank you, Judge. I'm just going to publish the rest of the part of the interview that involves the phone call between Mr. Hall, Ms. Stuckey, and Detective Barry.
Before you do that, just so the record is clear, Exhibit 4 is the entire interview with Ms. Stuckey, which has as a part of it the phone call, or you've somehow snipped it so that it is just before the phone call, which we saw, and it ends after that. I'm fine either way. I just want the record to be clear what is on states 4.
Yes, Your Honor. For the record, it is the entire interview. I didn't have an opportunity to snip it, but the phone call begins at 3 hours and 15 minutes and 22 seconds into States Exhibit 4, and it actually ends, Your Honor, at 3 hours and 29 minutes and 25 seconds on States Exhibit 4, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So it's roughly a 15-minute call.
Yep.
Fuck, man. Man, that man came in and pulled a touchdown on me, bro. Like, that man, I didn't even know that man was out there, bro. Like, that man came in, I said, you all right? I said, you good? And he pushed out up on me, bro. Why you ain't tell me that man was coming in there? How you coming in and check?
No, he didn't. It wasn't even for him to come in here and check you. For one, they was telling me to come. You know, I was standing outside. They heard us argue, which I be telling you to shut because you be loud as hell.
You can't do that, bro. I don't even know that man. I don't even know that man.
Well, he's gone. You know that, right?
That's crazy. That man came in and pulled that touchdown on me, bro.
Well, Dre, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. Man, I talked to him before, but that man, and then y'all call that man over there, bro. So I want them to help y'all, because y'all brought that man over there, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No, something was about to happen to me. Their family was trying to get at me. No family came over there, bro. So you left me with all this bullshit. My dog gone, that boy gone, my daughter hate me, my other daughter's gone, and like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know where to go. I can't even go home. And I'm about to lose my grandson, my apartment, everything, bro. What the hell, man? What the fuck?
Man, I don't know, bro. You should have kept, man.
How the fuck I should have kept, man? Nothing. Dre, that boy walked out.
Listen,
Over there, bro. He ain't gonna be coming over no fish on me. I ain't see how good he pushed up on me. Like, he's a kid, bro. Grown ass man, bro.
Jason.
Yeah.
So you're saying that he pulled out a gun, right?
Yeah, he pulled out a gun.
Okay. Listen, we found a gun inside of Miss Stuckey's apartment. Would that be the gun that was used against Corey?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how many? Well, we can talk about that later. So you tell me what happened. Tell me what happened.
I was sitting on my business. I was just sitting on the couch minding my business. And then, out of nowhere, he just came and I was sitting already on the couch. I had a gun already. A lot of folks had been knocking on the door and stuff already. So he came out of nowhere, and I'm like, bro. I said, what's going on? What's good with you? He pushed up on me and pulled a gun out. He had the gun in his hand. So I backed back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So I backed back. I didn't know what was going on. He came out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't call him over there. They called that man over there. I didn't even know he was out there.
Do you have no idea why he came to the apartment in the first place?
They called him over there.
And you said some folks was knocking on the door?
Yeah, some people knocking on the door, but it was some neighbors and stuff.
What they want?
I don't know what they want. They was just knocking on the door. The neighbors and stuff knocking on the door. They was drinking some weed. So I told them, I'm like, stop knocking on this door because I don't even know these people. So them people had moved over there. They was just knocking on the door all times of the night. So I went down and knocked on that door and told them,
Mhm.
put something to it. You good? You good? I'm broke as hell.
Mhm.
And he would come to my house and try to be aggressive with me. I don't even know him.
So what happened after he pulled out his gun?
As he pulled out his gun, he walked towards the door. He walked back towards the door, but I was running up by the couch. I had my gun right up. So I just shot him because he pulled the gun out on me. I don't know where he came from. But if y'all see him, he had a big ass gun on him.
Mm-hmm. So when you shot at him, you could still see him. He was still inside the apartment when you shot at him.
No, he was going out the door. He was going out the door. I don't know what he was going to do. I said something to him, but he was going out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just that he didn't move because he came there and pulled the gun out on me. Like, it was just unexpected. I didn't even know he was coming in. I didn't even know he was outside.
You talking about before he came in?
Yeah, I didn't even know he was outside. I didn't even know he was out there. She supposed to be going outside just to talk to see her grandbaby. And I was saying he come back in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they must have told him something for him to come in because he had no business coming to the house, period.
Was everything cool? Was everything cool before they even showed up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we was chilling. I don't know what verse she had with them to make him come in the house. Like, he ain't had no business coming in the house, period. I didn't call him over there.
I got you.
So he came out trying to check me. For what reason? I don't know what they told that man. That's why he came over there with a gun trying to check me.
So what's the Jason? Are you gonna come in? Are you gonna come in and make this statement like official or like what's your decisions here?
I mean, whatever. I don't like. I do every day, bro. I gotta talk. I ain't gonna come over to nobody. Whatever they did, they called that man to come over there. I don't know. I didn't call him now, but thanks for that man.
But the problem with that, just what you're saying is, what caused him to come isn't what ultimately made him cost his life. That's not what caused him to come. I don't think that's what caused his life. It was just some gunshots, and I'm trying to understand why that
But he
happened.
came there and pulled a gun, pulled a weapon out on me. So I don't know what to think. Why is he here? Why was he there in the first place? Coming in there and pulling out a gun on me first.
I got what you're saying, and I can't say if you're telling me that y'all were chilling and everything was fine. I mean, you had some people knocking on the door looking for some weed, but that don't got nothing to do with it, right?
No, they ain't got nothing to do with it.
That don't got nothing to do with it. Okay, so
So he just came in the house and just trying to check me like I'm a grown ass man. I said, where the gun? He pushing all up with the gun. Like I ain't coming that man no time to make some devil. I don't even know him. So I don't know what to think. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to think. He came over with a big old gun. Oh, that's a big old gun.
are you,
What's up too? And he's like, I'm sweaty smaller than that guy. I don't know that man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know from mechanic. Like, I live a regular life every day. Like, I don't even know that man. I wasn't into no trouble.
where are you now, Jason?
I'm at my auntie house.
Is it far from downtown?
Yeah, it's far from downtown. I was coming to give a statement of mine, but I just don't want to be told from that. I didn't see him do none of that. That man came down and provoked all that stuff.
Okay. What time you want to come in tomorrow?
Probably like 2 o'clock.
What's my dog?
Do you know about that?
My what?
Her dog?
No, I don't even know about the dog.
I'm sorry. We're gonna have to look back on that one. But 2 p.m. tomorrow, is that before or after your shift?
After my shift, when I get off.
Okay, so you're gonna get off. So okay, that's
I just don't want to talk like that man came with me, man. Like, I was sitting running my business. I don't know that man came with me with a big old gun with a big old clip on it.
what
I don't know.
did tell me what it looked like?
It was black. It's black. It was black. It had a long clip on it.
Like is it like a rifle, pistol, an extended
No,
clip?
it was a pistol. It was a pistol with a big old clip on it.
Could you tell if it was like Glock or anything like that?
It was a Glock with like a 30 round extended clip on it.
Gotcha. Okay. What's a good phone number for? Is this the 470 number 470-274? Is that you?
Yeah.
274.
And I tell him, that wasn't even a system to happen. That man came in and just like all aggressive with me. I mean, I don't know what, I
Mm-hmm.
I don't know this man from a can of paint.
And no, wait a minute. Let me get clarity on that. Like you literally never saw him before.
I saw him at her daughter's house, but I never even. I spoke to him one time before in life. Like I never seen that man but one time before. And that been a while ago. Like I don't know that man, but all the rest, like, I don't know what's going on with him, man. They called him man over there trying to check me or something.
Dre, keep it real. You know Nana was bringing Jalea to come see me. Don't act like I called Corey. I don't even talk to Corey. Me and you both don't know Corey.
But why did he come out with that?
Because you know why? Nana said go in the house. And I said I want to. She heard me and you arguing, Dre. She heard me and you arguing outside. Dre, Nana told me that she heard us argue. She was about to take Jalea back. Why you think I ain't brought Jalea back in the house and he came up there? He came to literally walk me, but I didn't know that was going to happen. You said what? Okay, well, Dre, first of all, I didn't know that. But second of all, you know that I was getting my granddaughter. And this even in the text.
Jason, the weapon that was used, where'd you leave it in the apartment?
And then you left that shit for me to go down for. Like, what if they would have said I did that?
Wait a minute, let me clarify. Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're not saying we are not assuming that she's a shooter. We're not gonna come up with scenarios like that now. We're gonna stick to the facts, okay? Let's just stick to the facts. Now, where do you think you left it?
I left it right on the couch where I was. Like, my brother had me in the street. Like, he just came in there and just had me on spirit because I was really stuck. Like, I didn't know he was trying to, like, I'm a grown ass man. Why would a little ass boy come here trying to demo me? You know what I'm saying? I don't know nothing about that man. I don't even know this man. I seen him before, but I didn't know how to sit down and have a conversation with him.
What kind of gun did you have?
I had a little, black
Okay. How long you had it now?
Probably like 3 months.
Okay. 3 months. Black in color Ruger. Is it definitely a Ruger?
What kind of gun it was? I think it's a Ruger.
No, that's cool. It's cool. Don't worry. We'll figure that out. But look, are you able to take a phone number? Or I can text you.
Yeah.
I'll text you.
Yeah, but that what he put into the head, like, that man just came in that person, like, I don't know how to think, like, he came in there with his gun, like, I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
I do understand. I said I do understand. I'm texting you right now my name so you can have my information. Let me know if you got it.
Like I said, man, I work every.
Where you work at?
I work at the print company.
Okay. But you're gonna be off before 2 to be here at 2.
Yeah.
You know where we are?
Yeah.
You got my text?
Yeah, I got some text.
Okay.
What? I don't feel no man. It's just like, man, I don't want to get in trouble for, like, I didn't provoke dirt that stuff, man. Like, for real, to tell the bear, I didn't provoke dirt that stuff. That man came in, and me and my girlfriend was talking loud. Yeah, what? They don't be on the right to come in there and try to check me. Like, it wasn't that simple. We can talk loud.
I get what you're saying. No, yeah, I understand. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't even think so. I didn't know that man was out there. I thought she was out there with her bird baby. I was saying he caught something in the house. With her, he come in the house, like, he come in there and check me or something. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It was just crazy. Like, that was just an unexpected turn of events. I ain't going looking for the shoot nobody do nothing like that. I didn't know he was son of me. He kept away. He came up. He tried to son of me like I was a little kid.
I got what you're saying, and it just sounds like your manhood was tried. You ain't like it.
No,
He said his phone was dying. I think he hung up. Hey. 6-1.
I don't have any further questions, Chair.
All right. Ms. Feely, do you have any redirect for Mr. Hall?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hall, you can step down. Deputy Gordon will help you get back there. Ms. Feely, do you have any other witnesses you're going to call?
No, Your Honor.
All right. What do you have that you want to make part of the record? I don't know that I'm going to consider it as evidence, but I know you had some things from Ms. Stuckey.
Understood, Your Honor. And I think at this point, we are going to need her for trial. So I think for purposes of this hearing, we can rest and just go forward with argument and with the understanding that we may need the court's help.
Sure. If we get to trial. All right. Mr. Abate, do you have any witnesses you're going to call?
I do, Your Honor.
All right.
State would call crime scene tech Davis.
Have what? Sure. And 4 is a DVD?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Go to the- Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat. State and spell your name for the record.
Sharon Davis, SharonDavis.
Say, good morning, Ms. Davis.
Good morning.
Can you tell the court how you are currently employed?
I'm a crime scene technician with the city of Atlanta.
And how long have you been employed with the city of Atlanta as a crime scene tech?
4 years, April 4th.
Okay, and were you employed as a crime scene tech with the city of Atlanta on April 30th of 2022?
Yes.
And can you tell the court, do you work a specific shift or hours when you're on duty?
Yes.
And what is that?
I was working morning watch and
Okay.
you work 11 at night until 7 in the morning.
Okay, and while you were on duty on April 30th of 2022, were you dispatched or I'm told to go to 537 Sunset Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, here in Fulton County?
Yes, I was dispatched.
And when you arrived, can you tell the court why you were dispatched?
Someone was shot.
Okay,
It was a 50-40, somebody was shot and they died.
okay. And as I guess a part of your duties as a crime scene tech, are you sent or dispatched to a location to process the scene?
Yes, I am.
And can you tell the court briefly, what does that entail?
It entails recovering items that the investigator has seen that is of value and things that the tech may have seen that the investigator did not see.
Okay. Do you also take photographs of the scene?
Yes, I do.
And do you mark items of what could or you or the investigator believe to be items of evidentiary value?
Yes, I do.
And do you then, I guess, re-photograph the scene once those markings are down for those items?
Yes, so you take 3 photographs called an overall, mid-range, and close-up
Mhm.
of your item, and then you put your marker down, and then you do 3 more photos.
Okay. And did you do that on April 30th of 2022?
Yes. I
And
did.
you took, or did you take a number of photos that evening when you were processing the apartment 6 at 537 Sunset Avenue?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and I want to show you that some photographs that have previously been tendered and admitted into evidence. And for 6 seconds, do you recognize those?
Yes, these were all of the defects in the door, the
Okay.
entry door.
And I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 15 and admitted into evidence. Now, well. What's it showing on my screen, but not here?
I thought it was 7 through 13.
I'm sorry, I meant.
Yeah, there's no
13
13
labeled, photograph, 15 on the
Okay.
copy, I'm sorry. Let's see. There we go. Now, in States Exhibit 13 and the photograph that's in front of you on the screen as well, can you tell the court what, I guess, is what are we looking at as it pertains to the door where it's marked, if you zoom in, A through H?
On 13, it's E through H. From what I can see here.
Oh.
Because when I'm trying to zoom up, I'm not gonna get so many, so 12 has C and D.
Here is, I'm sorry, States Exhibit 10.
Okay.
In States Exhibit 10, it's also in front of you on the screen. I've kind of zoomed in. Can you
Yes.
tell the court what, I guess, what's the purpose or what are we looking at in States Exhibit 10 and what is it showing where the markers are A through H?
That would be an overall of defects on entry door.
Okay, and in your processing of the scene, did you collect shell casings?
I did.
And to your recollection, were all the shell casings found inside the apartment behind the door?
Yes, they were.
And were all of the holes, I guess, related to gunfire through the actual door?
I'm not a specialist, but it kind of looks that way, but I'm not sure.
So let me ask you this question. In A through H, if you shut the door, is there a corresponding hole on the inside of the door?
Yes, you can see that here.
And that is the States Exhibit
8,
8.
yes.
Okay. And in your processing of the scene, did you find any shell casings outside of the door on the landing?
I don't recall. I don't think so, but I'm not certain.
Okay. And after you finished processing the scene with, I guess, other detectives that were present and investigators, did that kind of complete your part of the investigation?
Yes, it did.
All right. No further questions from the state.
Ms. Feely, any questions for crime scene technician Davis?
So the bullet holes that we were just looking at in the state's exhibit, you could tell which direction they were traveling.
No, I just said that I'm not an expert, so no, I don't know that.
And it would be fair to say that if it could go one way, it could go the other way, right?
I mean, a normal person you would assume, but again, I am not here to assume or give
Understood.
that information.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
All right. May the witness step down?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, for being here. Next witness?
Yes, state call Ms. Scott to the stand.
Ms. Rivers, are you good or should we take a break?
Still good, thank you.
Okay. Come on up, please, Ms. Scott.
Before you sit, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You can go ahead and have a seat. State and spell your name for the record. Spell your name.
Nivona
And your last name?
Scott.
Ms. Scott, I need you to pull the chair. It doesn't have wheels, so you got to really heft it. closer in because you're very soft-spoken and move the microphone so it's right in front of you so the court reporter can hear you. I appreciate you being here. If you need a break at any time, will you let me know?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Abate.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Scott.
Good morning.
So I will be brief. So I'm going to jump right into April 30th of 2022. Can you tell the court who lived at 537 Sunset Avenue?
My mom,
Okay, and what is your mom's name?
Nivea Stuckey.
And who did she live there with?
Nobody. She stayed there with my nephew, her grandson.
Her grandson? So it was just her and her grandson?
Mhm.
And you got to say yes for the record. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes, it is.
And did your mom have a significant other or boyfriend?
Yes, she did.
And what was his name?
Jason Hall.
Okay. And had you met or I guess interacted with Mr. Hall before April 30th of 2022?
I could say not really, but yeah, because he was around as my mom's boyfriend.
Okay.
And you would, if Mr. Hall walked in a room that you were in, you would recognize who that is?
Yes.
That's my mom's boyfriend. You wouldn't say, hey, who is this
No,
guy?
I know who he is.
Okay.
And do you recognize him? Or do you see him in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
And for the record, if you could, I guess, point and identify him by an article of clothing.
Right there.
Okay.
What color is he wearing?
Orange.
Okay. And now, why did you go to your mom's house on April 30th of 2022?
To bring my daughter there. They was going to, her and my nephew was going to the aquarium in the morning.
Okay. And how old is your daughter?
2.
2. And did your mom, was this a planned thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, she called me that same day, but like around 7 p.m. that night and asked me. And I said, yeah, it was okay.
Okay.
Can you tell me what your daughter and her nephew, your nephew,
My nephew,
your nephew, what were they going to do the next day?
he was going to the aquarium.
Aquarium. Okay. Thank you.
Now, prior to, I guess, getting to your mom's house, did you call her or text her to let her know that you were on the way?
Mm-hmm. I actually called her because she called me because she was actually rushing me. She wanted me to hurry up and bring her over there. And I told her I was on the way.
Okay. And when you got to her apartment complex or her building,
Mhm.
can you tell the court, did you hear or notice anything?
Yes.
What did you notice?
I heard loud music and yelling coming from her apartment.
Okay. And you said coming from her apartment. How did you know it was coming from her apartment?
Because I know my mom's voice, I know his voice, and I heard both of them up there.
His voice meaning Mr. Hall's?
The house.
And after you arrived and heard yelling between your mom and Mr. Hall, the defendant,
Mhm.
can you tell the court what happened next?
We got there, I heard the yelling and I was gonna leave because I already knew maybe they had a little disagreement going on up there. And when I was about to leave, she already was coming down the stairs because I told her I was outside 5 minutes before. And when she came to the car, she was just like, oh, let her stay. Ooh. Like, let her stay. And I was like, no, because I heard y'all yelling up there. I don't want to leave her here.
And
yeah.
was she visibly upset?
My mom tends to try to play off when she's upset. Like she'll laugh and smile, but that's my mom. I know when she's upset.
Okay. And how did you know she was upset?
Because I could see it in her face before she came down. Like when she came down the stairs and walked towards me, she looked mad, and then she got like, "Oh, hey, Nana." So I could tell.
And without telling me what she said, did she express to you that she was upset?
Yes.
And who was with you did you drive?
Yes.
And who was with you?
Corey.
And who is Corey?
That was my boyfriend, the one that was killed in the incident.
Okay.
Was he the father of your daughter?
No.
And how long had you been in a relationship with Corey or Mr. Blunt?
7-8 months around that time.
And during that time, were you and Corey living together?
Yes, he was living with me.
Okay. And if you remember, how long had your mom and the defendant, Jason Hall, been in a relationship or dating?
Like 6-7 years.
Okay. And in those years, had you heard them arguing and yelling before?
Yes.
And have you witnessed several arguments and yelling between the defendant and your mom?
Yes.
Okay. And had they just recently returned from a trip from Puerto Rico?
Yes,
And when they returned, did you see your mom?
yes, I did.
And can you tell the court after she returned from her trip, did she return at the same time as the defendant, Mr. Hall? Do you remember?
I don't think he came back around the same time. I think he was arrested down there.
And when you saw her, when she got back, did she have any injuries?
Yes, she did.
Can you describe to the court what her injuries were?
If I can remember, she had like a scratch, I think somewhere on her face, like a big, like somebody scratched her on her face.
Okay. Now, during the time that your mom had come down from her apartment after you had arrived, do her and Corey, do they interact?
My mom and Corey?
Yes.
Yes, they talk.
And did your mom and Corey have can you describe to the court their relationship?
She loved him. Like she even called me on his birthday and kept blowing up my phone. Like, let me speak to my son-in-law. And he'll ask to speak to her all the time. Or he'll even ask me like, how your mom doing? Let's go to your mama's house. Let me talk to your mom. He loved her.
Was Corey protective of your mom?
He's protective of like all women. I could say that in general, but he was protective. Like he would, the same way he'll protect me, he would protect her.
Okay. And while your mom is down there talking to you, is she also talking to Corey?
She was talking to me at first.
Okay.
And then I got in the car because it was a lot, like the whole situation between her and Jason. It gets to me because I just feel like she shouldn't be going through that. And then when I got in the car, he asked me, could he speak to her? And I told him no, but he wanted to himself. He was like, just let me talk to her. And then he did. They was talking and she was crying to him and stuff.
She was crying to him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you gotta say yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And what happened after Corey and your mom were talking and she was crying? Did she cry? Did they have any physical embraces? Do you remember talking about that?
While they were talking, he just really hugged her. And then she was just like, I'm okay, I'm okay. And she kept wiping her face. And then he was like, we told her to go upstairs. I said, go in the house because it's late and nobody's out here. And she said she was going to stand there and wait and walk the dog. But then she had said, then when he told her, he was like, let me take you upstairs then. And then she was like, no, because I'm afraid to go up there by myself. And then he was like, let me take you up there. And I told him no. I was like, we can watch them go up there. But he's the type of person where he just feels like she's a woman. And just if she said she's scared to go upstairs, let me take her up there. So he really was just taking her up there just to walk her upstairs and come back down.
Okay. And did he walk her upstairs?
Yes, he did.
And can you tell the court when did you stay in the car?
Yes.
And your daughter is in
And
the
she
back
was
seat?
asleep. Yeah, she was asleep.
And do you watch your mom and Corey walk up the 10?
I watched them go around because the way the car is and like the stairs in the corner, once you turn the corner, you can't go upstairs, but he went upstairs.
Okay. And states that the five, you see the stairs that they went up?
Yes.
Okay. And do you actually see the car that you and Corey arrived in?
Yes.
And can you point to it or announce the color?
It's right here. It's red.
Red car?
Mhm.
Okay. And so are you sitting in the driver's seat?
Yes.
Now, tell the court, after they go up the stairs, do you notice or hear anything?
I actually texted him as soon as they hit the stairs. And I said, is everything okay? He didn't text me back. So I got out the car and I opened the back door. And when I was getting out, I heard a glass slam. And I hurried up and ran up the stairs. But Corey was already outside the door. Like my mom was like, no, just go, just go. And then I was like, come on, Corey, let's go. And then we was leaving. And then the door closed and then bullets just started flying straight through the door. After we was about to leave, we was already turned this way to go downstairs.
Okay. And you said the door closed and you and Corey were going down, headed towards down the stairs?
Yes.
And that's when bullets started
Flying
firing
through the door.
And at that point, is Corey saying anything?
No, I did. I want to say in the midst of the bullets flying, I was guarding myself like this, but I thought, I don't know, I didn't see what he was doing next to me.
Mhm.
I instantly ran downstairs and then one of the bullets grazed my leg. So I was holding my leg, but then I looked back because I didn't see him running behind me. And I was yelling his name like Corey, Corey. But I didn't know what he was up there doing. I wouldn't think that happened. So
Did you get grazed anywhere else?
I got grazed in my leg, my face right here,
Okay.
my arm, and some down here on my foreleg.
Okay. And you said you saw Corey come out, you saw the door close. So
He was already out.
okay.
Like when I came running upstairs, he was already out, like in front of the door.
That's-
And I just basically ran up there to tell him, like, come on, let's just go. Cause I heard all the commotion. I heard the glass slam.
And-
So I was like, let's go.
And I think you said when he was already out and you were coming up, you saw and heard your mom saying, just go. And that's when she shuts the door.
Yeah. It was like a lot. It was a lot of yelling.
Mhm.
But then he had stopped yelling, but I heard him, Jason, I heard him yelling in the house. So that's why I felt like my mom was just like, just go, just go. So I was like, come on, let's just go.
Could you hear what he was saying?
No, I couldn't. I wasn't really listening to hear. I was more so like I'm listening to run upstairs, like what's going on.
And when you saw Corey outside the door, did you see him with any guns in his hands?
No,
Okay. Have you also had an opportunity to look at the ring camera, the video surveillance that you're in of that day?
just not till today. No.
Okay, but you've seen it today? And I'm gonna show you State's Exhibit 3. In the video surveillance that you watched, do you see yourself in the video surveillance on the disc?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe to the court what color shirt you wear?
Orange.
Okay, and does the video surveillance that you're in and that you reviewed, does that fairly and accurately depict the events of April 30th of 2022?
Yes.
At this time around, the state would tender what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3 into evidence.
Any objection to states 3 for this hearing?
No, Your Honor.
It's admitted. Before you play it, I just want to ask Ms. Scott a few questions. So you stayed in the car with your daughter. What's your daughter's name?
Jalea.
Jalea?
Mhm.
Okay, so you're in the car with Jalea, and then tell me what it was you heard that prompted you to get out of the red car and go up the stairs.
I heard a glass sound.
A what?
A glass, like a cup.
Oh, you heard breaking glass.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's the part I couldn't hear. So you hear,
Inside the house. Though.
sure, inside your mom's apartment.
Mhm.
You hear breaking glass. You get out of the car. You're going up the stairs.
Seeing him outside the door.
Him meaning Jason. I'm sorry, meaning Corey, Mr. Blunt.
Mhm.
So Mr. Blunt is outside the door. Is he facing you or is he facing the door?
He seen me coming up, so he looked at me and then he was still talking to my mom. I think he was telling her like, just go in there, you okay, you okay. And
So when you're going up the stairs, the door's still open?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's yes.
Yes,
So you're going up the stairs. Mr. Blunt is outside the apartment, talking into the apartment.
yeah,
He did look at you, but he's talking into the apartment. You think he's talking to your mom. Doesn't really matter. He's talking into the apartment. You're going up the stairs, but at some point the door closes all the way.
it did.
Okay.
When I came and got him, after I got up there, I came and got him. I said, come on, let's go. And my mom was like, all right, bye. And
So
she
you
drove-
made it all the way to the top of the landing.
Mhm.
Could you see through the door?
Yes.
And who was through the door?
My mom was standing in front of the door and Jason was standing behind her, like in the back. It's like the kitchen is right here, but the living room's right here.
Got
He's
it.
standing right there.
Okay, so your mom, the first person you could see through the door was your mother.
Mhm.
And then, yes?
But yes.
Okay, and then behind your mother was Mr. Hall.
Mhm.
Right behind her, like touching her, or steps
It's
behind
like-
her?
Yeah, steps behind her.
Back in the living room?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
and you actually said something to your mom?
Yeah, I told her, I said, we finna go.
Okay,
And she was like, all right, bye.
and then the door closes?
Yes.
And had Mr. Blunt turned away from the door with you to start going down the stairs?
Yes.
Then the gunshots start? Okay, thank you. I just needed to understand the sequence.
Yes,
You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't follow well.
And Judge, for the record, I'm going to play the first clip in State's Exhibit 3.
And this Ring camera is not on Ms. Stuckey's door. It would be some other door on the hallway. Maybe that door you can see at the top of the stairs.
Yes, you'll see in the video surveillance, it's the door that's diagonal. It's the apartment that's diagonal from apartment 6.
Okay.
Where they
And
stay.
apartment 6 is Ms. Stuckey's.
That's correct, Your Honor. Judge, it may be easier if you want to watch it on my computer because it's a short clip and there's a lot of lag.
Okay. If you're tendering it, I'm happy to watch it on my computer. If I need to watch it right now, I can. But I don't know that we need to replay that. That was rough. So, but 3 has been tendered. Does it have all 4 clips or just that first one?
It is all for Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Feely, I'm happy for us to play them here, but I commit to what, it sounds like they're all very short anyway. I'll watch all 4 as part of my review of the evidence. Are you all right with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Scott, after you hear all the shots, can you tell the court what you do next?
Actually gunshots came through the door. I ran down the stairs. I was actually trying to guard myself, but because I was getting hit, like it was grazing my face.
In the little bit of footage we saw, there was someone, it looked like a female with an orange top. That's you. So you're partway down the stairs.
Yes. That's after, like, I think towards the end, when after the bullets came flying through the door, I ran down the stairs and then I was holding my leg, but I was calling him because I didn't see him behind me. And then when I went back up, that's when I seen him laying on the ground.
And when you go back up and see him laying on the ground, do you see the defendant again?
Yes, it was after I went back up, I could hear my mom yelling from the apartment, like, what did you do? What did you do? So when I came back up, I was holding my leg. I was actually limping up the stairs. My mom opened the door and then she seen me and she started screaming because she thought I was the one that got hit. But then she seen me crying, like looking over there. And then she tried to help him up. And then that's when the defendant came walking out and had the gun in his hand and was saying what he was saying.
And he came walking out after your mom opened the door and saw
Yes.
both you and Court on the ground.
Yes.
And when he came out, can you tell the court what he did while he was, I guess, out on the landing?
Jason. He came out the house and he was actually like pacing, kind of. He was standing at the door at first and then he was pacing. He had the gun in his hand and he was standing in front of me. And he was like, he shouldn't have put a pistol out on me. And he kept saying it, but he was in front of me. I was scared though. I didn't know what to do. And my baby was in the car. So I was in the midst of a whole lot going on.
Okay. And after that, did the police arrive?
They arrived a little way, like later.
Okay.
It took a minute to come.
And when the police arrived, you were on scene?
Yes.
And you spoke to them, correct?
Yes.
When the police arrived, did you see the defendant on scene?
Yes. No.
Did you know where he went?
No.
Did your mom, she remain on scene while the police were there?
Yeah, she was there.
I don't have anything else.
All right. Ms. Feely, give me 1 second. If you have questions for Ms. Scott, I need to take a few more notes. Do I need a special player for the Ring stuff or just you were experiencing the Zoom lag that we have here?
It's a Zoom lag, Your Honor.
Okay.
Windows Media Player VLC lag.
Great. All right. Thank you, Ms. Feely.
So it's your testimony that your mom was upset when she came downstairs and
Yes, ma'am.
and she was crying,
Yes, ma'am.
but it was her decision to go back upstairs, right?
Yes, it was.
And you did not go into the apartment that night.
I went in when I first arrived. When she came to the car, initially wanted to take my daughter out the back, and I said no because I heard the arguing upstairs. She told me, come upstairs so you can see it's safe. And with my mom, she's the type of person you gotta listen to her. That's my mom. So I went up there. I wasn't gonna let her stay, but I just went up there just to see what was going on. When I went inside the apartment, Jason was in the room and then he came out. And my mom was like, see, everything's okay. And then he came out, he pointed in her face and said, I forgot what he said. But I remember I said, no, I'm about to go. We're not staying here. We're gonna go.
And then
And that's when I went back downstairs and she followed me back downstairs.
that was exactly what I was going to ask. So you guys went back downstairs.
Mhm.
And then the second time when Corey and your mom went upstairs, you didn't make it all the way into the apartment that time.
No, I went up there initially just to go get him. I didn't want to go back in. I didn't want to do anything they had going on.
All right. So you didn't see what happened in the apartment, if anything.
No, I didn't see what happened in there.
Thank you.
Ms. Scott, I know you don't remember what Mr. Hall said specifically to your mom when you went up there that first time with her, but you said something about
He pointed in her face.
okay. Do you recall the words being loving and supporting words or hostile words?
Yes.
Which?
It was more so like, I can't really remember what he said, but it was like, he pointed at her and I'm sorry. It's just, I want to remember what he said, but
But if you can't, that's okay. It was a stressful time, but it wasn't nice.
oh,
Okay. And because of that, you said, I'm out of
yes,
here
that's why I'm outta
effectively.
here. Like, I don't want nothing to do with what
Okay.
you have going on.
And then to Ms. Feely's point, you did go back upstairs a second time, but that's what you and I have already talked about. That was to get Mr. Blunt.
Yeah.
And actually he was there on the landing. He was talking with your mom and then the two of you were starting to leave and then all the gunshots.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Abate, anything else for Ms. Scott?
Just so it's clear, when you went up the first time and the defendant pointed into your mom's face, was he doing it in an aggressive manner?
Yes.
Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Feely, anything else?
No, no.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Thank you. You want me to get up?
Yeah, well, you're free to get off. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mr. Abate, any other witness?
Nothing
other-
further from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. Any rebuttal?
No, you aren't.
All right. The evidence is closed. I need to take a few more notes and then we can talk some more.
Bless you.
That's right. She never came up to the apartment just one time. She never came in. Okay. I'm ready if you want to make argument now, if you want to rely on the record and the law that is set forth in the motion, or if you want to brief it. Tell me your preference as the movant, Ms. Feely.
We could just briefly argue.
Okay. Why don't you come on up to the podium?
We're asking the court to grant Mr. Hall immunity from prosecution based on the fact that he acted in self-defense, and to use force in self-defense that's likely to cause death or great bodily injury. One must reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent death or great bodily injury to Mr. Hall or a third person. What we have here is Mr. Blunt entered Mr. Hall's apartment, confronted Mr. Hall, made a threat, and pointed a gun at him. This is all a continuous stream of action that led to Mr. Hall firing shots in self-defense. He would not have been justified if he initially provoked the use of force against him, or was attempting to commit a felony or fleeing from one, or he was the aggressor. We would submit that the evidence has shown none of those three things, and we are asking the court again to grant Mr. Hall immunity.
And as I read your motion, you are invoking it really in three different ways. Clearly self-defense, gun pointed at him, but defense of others, i.e. Mr. Hall believed he was protecting Ms. Stuckey from whatever Mr. Blunt was up to. And then the defense of residence, he has portrayed Ms. Stuckey's apartment on Sunset Avenue as his residence as well. That's a little murkier, but that would be a third basis because Mr. Blunt actually came into the residence, no question about that, and pointed a gun at him in what Mr. Hall is portraying as his residence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Abate.
Yes, Judge. I would submit, I'd submit on the record and the testimony as it's come before Your Honor today. What I would say to the court is that based on the testimony and the evidence that's been presented by both the state and the defense, it's clear that at the time Mr. Hall shot through the door 8 times, he was not in reasonable fear, or there was no force that was necessary that would be required to defend himself, others, or his home from imminent use of unlawful force from Mr. Blunt. The video evidence, as well as the testimony of Ms. Scott, makes it clear, and Mr. Hall, to be perfectly candid with the court, that there was an altercation inside of the home, a verbal altercation that led to what the state would submit based on the evidence in the video, where Mr. Blunt raised his shirt to show that he was armed, based on the conversation that he had had with the defendant in regards to him having to come upstairs in protection of Ms. Stuckey. I submit that to the court based on the video evidence that you'll see on State's Exhibit 4 or 3, excuse me, that you'll see that there is no gun in Mr. Blunt's hands. The gun is in his waist. And what I would submit to the court is at the time that Mr. Blunt left the apartment and Ms. Stuckey shut the door, there was absolutely no need for any sort of force necessary to defend himself, the defendant, or anybody else, because there was absolutely no threat at the time of the shooting. What Ms. Scott testified before your court and what before Your Honor, and what the video evidence shows is that Mr. Blunt was leaving, just as Ms. Stuckey told him to do, to leave her home. I think the evidence would show that the home belonged to Ms. Stuckey, and she was allowing the defendant to stay there on that night and at that time. So based upon all of that, Your Honor, we respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion.
All right. Thank you. So I will take all this under advisement. I've got a lot of notes to review. I certainly need to watch the video clips in States 3. I will enter an order. Mr. Hall, if I grant your lawyer's motion, then the state cannot prosecute you anymore. If I deny for these charges, although they can appeal it, so it's not necessarily over then. If I deny the motion, then this case will be put back on a trial calendar real soon. And Ms. Feely will be free to continue to make these same arguments of defense of self, defense of others, and defense of habitation, is how we say it formally. My denial of a motion for immunity doesn't preclude that defense at trial. And if that's where we end up, you should know that if the evidence supports it, I would be required to tell the jury all about the defense of justification and that they must acquit you if they find that you were justified in using deadly force against Mr. Blunt. So I share all that with everyone so people don't think, oh, he denied the immunity motion, if that's what I do. So that means there'll be no self-defense argument at trial. That's not what it means. It also doesn't mean that you would need to worry, well, what's my defense going to be? I've admitted that I fired, and if the judge says no immunity, I guess that's sort of it. It just means that the case would go to a jury, where most cases go in the end if we need a fact finder to decide something. So I will get an order out soon, and that will determine, do we go next to trial, or is there something that needs to be appealed? Ms. Feely, anything else on behalf of Mr. Hall?
None at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Abate, anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor, and I will get a jump drive for Miss Rivers with all of the exhibits on one jump drive scanned together.
Fantastic, because I always leave her this stuff. It's up to you. Well, why don't you talk with her? She may well prefer the jump drive. I will get to her after I enter an order the 2 discs and the paper, but she may have told you in the past jump drive is the way to go. I'm not overruling her direction to you.
I think that's the standing order.
All right, well, let's comply with the standing order. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
And for folks who are here for Mr. Blunt, this worked a lot better. Thank you. Let's just keep doing that. Mr. Giggles needs to stay out if he can't not giggle, but otherwise, I appreciate you all maintaining. It's not easy. Okay?
Thank you, Judge. Have a nice
Yep.
day.